Good morning. Welcome to ClayShareCon day 3. No, it looks like day 6, but it's not. It's day 3. And we're going to start this morning with a glazing demo with Don and Drew Seymour from Clayscapes Pottery. And I'm just going to let you all know there's been a little bit of schedule changes for the ClayShareCon. Due to weather issues, we did have a raku party planned this evening, and we're going to have to reschedule that because they're out in Syracuse, New York, and they're getting this winter storm right now, and you cannot do raku in the middle of a blizzard. Like, it's just not possible. So we're going to reschedule that for the end of day Sunday. So we will go right through till 5 o'clock, do the giveaways, and then I think probably 5:30 we'll be able to do the raku, but we have a lot of giveaways. So it could go a little longer. It could go to 5:45 on Sunday. 2 other schedule changes. Tomorrow morning we have scheduled at 10 o'clock Bailey extruder demo. That is actually going to be my Mishima demo. And then on Sunday, no, what day? I'm trying to figure out what day we are. The day, oh, Sunday, yes. At 9 o'clock I was going to do Mishima. At 9 o'clock I'm doing extruder. So they're switching. And I'll get the official schedule up, and it will be out there. But I'm just switching those 2 because of, well, I need my extruder dies, and they're not here, and I can't drive in the storm to go get them. So got to wait for that too. All right, so let's get started on another amazing day of pottery education and adventure. Hey, Don. Hey, Drew. How you guys doing?
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. So glad to have you here with us again. We always love glazing with you. And ooh, Drew, look at your apron.
Yeah.
You got a ClayShare apron.
It's even got my name on the pocket.
That's awesome. That's so your dad can't steal it from you.
Yeah, we're going to do some glazing today. And so this apron's going to help me not get so messy.
So you think. No, it does.
So yeah, we're going to start
awesome.
off. Don here, Dad is going to show off a few different tools that he likes to use for glazing. And then we'll go into some practice and then actually glazing a couple of pieces.
One of the things that I like to do is after the piece comes out of the bisque fire, sometimes there's a little nub that needs to be cleaned off. So I use this broken piece of silicon carbide grinding stone and just go over it and rub off if there's a little sharp edge or something and just dust it off. So that's very important so that it doesn't come through as a sharp edge and possibly mar somebody's table or cut someone's hand, okay? And then if we're gonna wax, I like to use a natural sponge, and I've taken my natural sponge and cut straight edges on it so that when I apply my wax, it's real easy to go around and get a nice clean edge on the wax. And I also use this for cleaning up the bottoms of pieces so that, again, a nice straight edge gives you a nice clean flat line. The other item I like to use is a little wooden tool so that when I glaze and I get a little bit down on the foot, I can scrape it off. That makes it easy to sponge down. And then we like our natural deer tail brush for applying different layers of glaze for brush work. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Drew. He's going to show a little technique.
Yeah. So
this is our red solo cup. Everybody's got homework.
Yes.
Red solo cup homework.
So when I'm in order to practice, if you don't want to mess up your pot, we practice with water and a red solo cup. And this is going to teach us form, and it's going to help us to get nice even application when we do go and move it to use the pots here. And so what we do is I'm right-handed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my pot in my left hand, and I'm going to hold it by my fingers like this. And then for what I do, what we're going to do for the inside of it is I'm going to rotate my wrist. See how I'm going to rotate my wrist in, and then I'm going to rotate my elbow in so that the cup is right here. And then We're going to fill it with our glaze. But right now we've got water. So I've got the scoop. I'm going to put the water in. Almost all the way to the top. And then we're going to pour it and rotate it so that we get even coverage. Sometimes what you'll run into is if you pour your glaze inside your pot and then you leave it there and you kind of have to turn it around to get it all covered in there. We're putting uneven layers of coats on. And so we want like a nice quick swoosh coming out of this. So again, we've got the cup rotated in with my hand, rotate my elbow in with my hand, and then I'm going to dump it away from me and spin it all out like that. So it dumps away, and then we spin it, we unwind our wrist and we unwind our elbow, and it spins. If you're left-handed,
it's important to fill the cup up. In this case, we're using a cup. Because if you only partially fill it, okay, with glaze, we're talking water, but if you partially fill it with glaze and you do that motion, you don't get the whole inside coated. So then you're putting more inside and you're getting too much glaze buildup.
Right. So if you're left-handed, you're going to hold your pot in your right hand, and we're going to rotate. Again, we're rotating inwards. So we're going to rotate my wrist this way, and I'm going to rotate my elbow this way so that when I pour away from me, out, spin, see that? See how none of it comes up?
It doesn't dribble down the outside.
So that pouring motion again, we'll do slow. Rotate in, nice and slow. See how that comes out like that? And so we're going to do that with glaze next. But that's how, if you want to practice pouring a glaze into the inside of your piece over and over and over and over and over again to get that muscle memory, but you don't want to do it with pottery. We use the solo cup.
Practice your homework.
Yeah. So first,
practice your pouring.
The first pot I want to glaze, we're going to glaze in nutmeg. I'm excited.
And we're going to put some red iron oxide wash over the top of it with our brush.
Mm-hmm. So
how many coats are you going to do with the nutmeg?
One.
One?
I'm going to do one because this is a bigger piece. I am not used to, me personally, I'm not used to glazing bigger pieces. So realistically, I'm probably going to get some sheeting on the outside here. But what I'm going to do is one coat, and then we're going to put the iron oxide over it. I really like the dark clay with the nutmeg. That sample. Do you want to run and grab me that sample?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make Dad run.
Yeah. And so I've got.
Would you, while you're waiting, would you explain to folks what sheeting is? Because
Yes.
This is new. Dipping and pouring glaze is new to a lot of folks, so they might not be familiar with that term.
So I'll put that down here. So when I say sheeting, what I mean is when I went and dumped my red Solo cup, right, and it came out nice, and we didn't have any dripping down the side here. What sheeting is if I were to take my pot, dip it in, pull it out, when I turn it upright, all those drips on the bottom here, if they're not completely gone and you flip it up, those drips are then going to run down the side.
And that's a second coat of glaze.
That's a second coat. And so that's an extra layer.
So if we're doing two applications, you potentially could wind up with 4 coats of glaze instead of 2.
Right.
Drew calls it sheeting. I call it curtaining.
Yeah.
Just a difference in terms.
This is one of Dad's wine coolers. I'm going to fill it to like here.
Yeah.
I'm going to fill it to like here with nutmeg.
This is my fancy scoop that I use.
Yep. This is our scoop.
That's awesome. That is, I need to make some of those. I don't know why I don't have some. That's brilliant. Just an old detergent bottle.
Another thing, even though this has a nice foot, I'm going to wind up holding it above the foot line. So I'm going to have these fingerprint marks on the bottom. I don't mind that so much, but we will, I'll show you how to kind of go in and clear that up after if we need to. We'll use that one.
For bigger pots, I use the gallon size laundry scoop. Yeah, I just cut the bottom off, rinse it out. And so that way I'm not having to use little scoops to fill a great big container. Go ahead.
Is this gonna be enough?
All right. No, you're gonna have to do two of those.
Two of these. So I'm going to scoop it in. I've actually got this in my hand. I've already pre-rotated it. It's in front of me. So my whole arm is spun inwards, and I'm gonna fill it with glaze. You know, and spill it all over like you do.
That's good.
It's filled almost to the top. And I'm going to dump it. And then I'm gonna dip it right away.
Shake
you see that? I'm shaking the drippies off. And then I upright. Man, no sheeting.
No sheeting, no curtaining.
That's one coat of nutmeg on brown clay. Yes, that's what it's gonna look like.
It'd be gorgeous.
Yes. So now
you want to do another little bit on the rim? So
yeah, why don't I do that? I'm gonna do. Should I do that inside?
No, just.
I'm gonna do a second layer on the rim so that we can see the difference in thickness. Just a nice little dippity doodah. And then
Here's your iron.
We got iron oxide on this nice deer tail brush. And I'm just gonna take it and kind of like nice swoops. Swoops. Good enough. So I've got some swoops. You know, I'm not very particular about them. And then I'm gonna set this down and let it dry while I do another one. And since we're gonna do a different combo, you can see how messy I get. I'm a super messy glazer. I have some work in the other room there where I just kind of like throw glaze at pottery in it. And it's just very much Jackson Pollock style. That's how I like to glaze. So I'm gonna go rinse my hands super quick in this bucket. I do have a sink, but it's out of frame. All right, and so we've cleaned this space up.
Nutmeg again?
Are we putting nutmeg on anything else?
Look at your list there.
No.
Okay.
Slide that. We got a bowl that we were gonna do the black copper, right?
Sure.
So let me ask you, when you get ready for a glazing session, do you sit down and make a list of what glaze combos you want to use beforehand and on what particular pieces, or just wing it?
So typically I will actually, sometimes I'll draw the pieces and then I will try and pick which glazes I'm going to use. And sometimes I'm very much just like whatever pops into my head. For today, because we have very specific combos that we want to show off, we actually have a list of combos that we want to do. This one here, we're going to do just black copper. This is a bowl. We're going to use the same technique. You can see how this bowl has a really nice defined foot. That's going to make it really easy for us to grab. And we glaze it. Do you want to glaze this one or no?
You're at it. Go for it.
So this is black copper, same thing. I extend my arm, rotate my hand, rotate my elbow, fill the piece inside with glaze, lean it away, spin, and then dip it, shake it in the bucket. And then I'm gonna shake it. So I'm shaking it around like this, but in the bucket so I don't make a mess. Now, black copper's a one coater, so done. That's it. We're done, right? Boom, in, out, done. We don't have to do extra coats. We don't have to brush it on. We don't have to wait for it to dry to put the next coat on. None of that. I got other ones. Black copper. Ooh, we wanted to do cream and ultraviolet. We also wanted to do charcoal and flatbush.
I'll take the cup.
Thank you. Would you want to do
Cream and ultraviolet?
I think so, but I don't know if I want to do it on. What do we think, Jess? Should we do cream and ultraviolet, or
nice.
flatbush and charcoal?
The cream and the ultraviolet.
Okay.
I think.
So what I'm going to do
now,
is
have you done any tests with the cream over nutmeg?
Cream over
I hadn't
nutmeg.
thought
I have
about
it,
that.
but I have extra pots here, and
So
we'll do
maybe.
that.
Yeah, okay. I
Ultraviolet.
like this way of glazing. I just throw out combos and you do it.
You just say like, hey, you should do this, and then we'll do it. So I have pre-waxed this. Zach, one of our employees, has made me a bunch of samples to do glaze tests with. So because of the way his foot is, it's this kind of flowered up foot. And so I've waxed it already because I know that I want to glaze this separately. So I want ultraviolet to go, we're gonna just dip it.
I'm getting some cream.
Okay. So I've glazed it this far in the ultraviolet. And then we'll wipe it off. Sponge to the bottom. Awesome. Waxing is nice for that. And then Dad's gonna bring some cream over. So while we're waiting on that, I'm gonna do this one. So this one, I want to glaze in the same style, but I want the flatbush. Here.
So while you're doing that, let me ask you, some folks were asking, why do you dip the inside and the outside separately instead of just dipping the whole thing in at once and filling it up and pulling it out?
I have less control over it of how many coats are on each part of the piece when I do it that way. When we dip the inside, then the outside, because of the way that the pottery is going to create a seal, an air seal when you do that. It makes it so that we don't over apply the glaze.
The other thing is that when I was a production potter a few years back, if you're dipping the whole pot in, that means you're going to have to wax all the bottoms. And I found that was an extra step, which was a very big time crunch for me. So I developed or started glazing this way. So I didn't have to wax all my bottoms.
Yeah, when you're making,
you know about that, waxing your bottoms, right?
All right, so these two.
I wax my bottoms.
All right, so this is the one, the ultraviolet. We want to put cream on it. So I want to put cream on the inside. We're going to use our red Solo cup.
I got another cup here for you.
There you go.
Well, people are shouting out glaze combos. So,
so again, this is the
you could be here for a while.
Same technique. I'm gonna roll my wrist. I'm gonna roll my elbow. I'm gonna pour the cream inside. Almost over the cup. Excuse you. And then we're gonna out, right? And so when I did that, I got the one coat on the inside, but there's nothing here. So then I can apply the one coat here. They're going to overlap ever so slightly. So they just, I mean, I have a very small area where they overlap, but that's going to show me a nice run. You know, I want it to be a little subtle. I don't want it to necessarily run straight to the bottom. Like that one. Here, I'll take the cream and ultraviolet. Ta-da. And then charcoal. Where's the charcoal?
Underneath the big scoop. I'll bring it around for you.
So I got a question. Do you ever use glaze tongs?
Do I ever use glazed tongs? Not typically, no.
Do you want me to do a glazed tong one?
I don't really like glazed tongs, but I splash cream on this. It'll be interesting.
So we could show people if we wanted to dunk the whole thing in charcoal.
But I don't.
Okay.
So
I think glaze tongues are a personal preference for when you're glazing and how you like to glaze when you're dipping.
Yes.
Some folks like them a lot. Some folks don't. And the style of work they're making, I know potters who will hold it in their hands like you are, and you leave the prints left behind by your hands to show the maker, you know, his involvement with the glazing. So it's part of the process.
Are you putting another color on that?
This is charcoal. And I'm going to do the same thing. And charcoal, I just want one coat. If it's too thick, it's going to overpower the glaze underneath it. So nice one coat right here. And we're going to get that pull over the Brooklyn line with the cream like we want. So that's what that one will look like. We can show, I have extra glazes here. We could do, was it nutmeg and
Cream.
Cream, that's right.
And then we had a shout out for black copper and cream.
I have that example.
So that's been done. So you can see it.
Let me put this one down. We got to clean up all these bottoms, but oh, here, dog.
So go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
So we had some folks asking, would you show glaze? Do you have anything big that you're going to glaze today? It's okay if you don't, but just wondering. Folks want to know how to glaze something too big to fit in the bucket, like a bowl.
Something too big to fit in the bucket.
Okay.
You want to get that plate? I mean, do you want to?
Oh, and could you explain when you dip it in why glaze isn't actually going up inside the cup when you just dipped it?
So when I dip a cylinder, it's a closed form, right? And as long as you apply an even amount of pressure, if I were to put this in the bucket sideways like this, I'm going to glaze the inside as well because the glaze is going to go into it. But if we create an air bubble, so we go straight down and touch the glaze at the same time all the way around here, it creates a pocket of air on the inside. And that pocket of air puts downward pressure so that glaze doesn't get up in there, okay? And so there are some people that you can dip it, you know, one way to do this, you don't want to do the whole spinny thing and dippy and all that. Sometimes I'll put it in with a pocket of air. And then once I dip it all the way to my fingers, I'll turn it sideways and shake it. And that'll break the air bubble and all the glaze will rush up into it. And I just touched it. So we'll do that. Let's do that. Ready? So I'm going to put this in. Boop. And then I'm going to turn it sideways and shake it. And you can see that it glazed the inside. There's a little spot in there. So I'm just going to kind of take my hand and stick it in the glaze. I'm just going to drip it down like that. What should we put over the black copper? Not the black copper, the charcoal.
Let's put black copper over it. No, that's a lot of color. Let's put nutmeg over it.
Okay. Nutmeg over charcoal.
Yeah, have you done nutmeg on the charcoal yet?
Nope.
I mean, they're both satiny matte glazes. So, although the nutmeg tends to go glossier.
So because we haven't used the nutmeg here in a little bit, we've got to agitate it so that we get it homogeneous. Because the wonderful things that create the color settle and they're dense. So I've got the glaze stirred and agitated for Drew.
We do that with any glaze. So anytime I step away from a bucket or anytime one of us, you know, if we're glazing and we got to come back to a different one, we always want to mix it up again, even if it's only been 5 minutes. So we're just going to plop nutmeg. Sweet.
So the question was asked, what do you do? I think about bigger pieces that don't fit in the bucket. Is that true, Jess?
Yeah, that was one of the questions that was asked.
So we have a number of bigger forms around the studio that we could fill this bowl with the glaze and then dip a big plate in it And then our bigger buckets are 20-gallon buckets, so they're wider than this even. The other thing that you can do certainly is pour.
Are we pouring?
No. So if I had a plate like this, doesn't fit in the bucket, we could take our scoop. Where's our scoop?
This one.
We take our scoop. I guess I'll do it. See how we're talking about it.
Do you want me to hold it? Or?
No, could you put the cover on the charcoal? Yeah. Normally I would wax the back, okay? But came up at the last minute, so we could just actually just pour our glaze right here, just like that onto our plate. Rip it off, and then rotate it. And I'm going to double pour across the middle of it. So that's an easy technique for bigger stuff.
Do you want to do
and then I'm going to do the underside. I got to let this dry a little bit so that I can do the underside. I got a couple marks where my thumb was there, and I just take a little glaze from the side of the bucket, little paste, and paste it right on those spots. That'll blend in. And that's dry enough.
you want me to hold it while you?
So now I can take this right here like this, and the underside of the rim. Again, I would normally wax that, but I'm just going to pour this right here. And I'm rotating my plate as I go. Ooh, didn't quite get enough. Need a bigger scoop.
Need more laundry detergent.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just let that set up. Then I'll come back with my sponge and just sponge that foot down so it's got a nice coat to it. Do you want to put something on here?
Iron.
Iron?
Or do we want to put like cream over the nutmeg? Did we do that one?
We did cream over nutmeg, didn't we?
I don't see it.
Okay.
I don't know if you did. You were going to. And you were going to do some brush work with the red iron oxide.
A brush, or you just want to pour some?
I'm just going to pour some on. You want to stir that up a little bit? So now
You're going all in.
So that this through the middle here has two coats, because I had one coat of nutmeg here, second coat through the middle, one coat here, and now I've got a coat of cream over here. So we'll see what that combination does.
Nice.
I had a question about
Go ahead.
Contamination when you're doing one glaze over another. Do you have to worry about contamination getting back into the bucket?
Every time that we go to the bucket, you can see we've got this bucket of water here that we're constantly like dipping our hands and washing them in. And the thing with dipping and pouring glazes are they dry really fast. We can show you on one of these. Let's do this one.
Well, even the plate I just did, I could hold it.
It's dry right now.
Dry when I did the outer rim, and I held it. I didn't mar the surface.
I want to do a black.
I think it was if you're putting a second coat and you dip it, you dipped it in the first coat, it's dry, you dip it in the second coat, can some of that first color come off with the second the issue?
If you have to wait about 15 or 20 seconds. We just fired to 06. And in about 15 to 20 seconds, the glaze is dry enough that you can handle it. If you went and did it like immediately, then you're going to contaminate that second glaze. But you just have to wait for it to set up and not be tacky.
What about with black copper? I'm going to do a black copper.
And a lot of folks are asking if you're going to show these results.
Yeah, the idea is we're going to fire these today and have them out for
Sunday's
discussion. I've done so many just plain black coppers. Don't really want to.
Let's use ultraviolet. We haven't used that very much.
Okay.
And we haven't used flatbush very much.
Well, flatbush is
Flatbush.
yeah.
Have you tried black copper with coastal blue?
What would you say, Jess, about coastal blue?
Have you tried it with the black copper?
I don't believe we have.
Let me do that. Let me go get a bucket of that.
Who knows what it will look like?
So we're going to do the ultraviolet. I'm just going to fill this up. See how messy we are here? I don't know if you can see the table, but I find that glaze is more fun when you're not thinking about like trying to keep everything perfectly clean and just kind of, we're just playing in the color. Charcoal with, we'll put coastal over it, and we'll do, you said black copper with coastal?
Yeah.
Black copper with coastal, ultraviolet with coastal. Black copper, my new favorite. Black copper is my new favorite glaze, and it seems like it's everybody else's new favorite glaze based on sales. Just letting you all know, it's a good glaze. I'm gonna mix it, and while Don is getting the coastal blue for us to experiment with, I'm gonna.
Ooh, black copper with Oribe. Yeah, that could be nice.
Hi, Mom. Hi. All right. That's black copper. That's ultraviolet. We're going to put some coastal blue on the rim of both of those.
Oh, yeah, that'll be nice.
See how that comes out.
We've got a question. Someone accidentally poured a quarter cup of cream into the shadow blue. Is it ruined? Is the shadow blue ruined?
I mean, you have a new glaze, but you can test it, but it's not ever going to be anything like, yes, it's ruined.
It's a new glaze. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you know, it's, I think it could be really pretty. It'll be a little more opaque. That's all. And maybe lighter, but
so
you might invent something.
On the rim here, and I'm gonna do what I like to do. And I take so this is my patented glazing technique. I use my hand as a scoop, and I just like drip it on there. Okay, now that's gonna run. But the piece that we have, Zach has thought ahead. And so when we look at the foot of this, I don't know if it's easy, but the foot is almost like a catch for runny glaze. And so even though I know that this is going to run, I'm confident that it's not going to run on the kiln shelf. And we're going to do the same thing with the black copper piece. We're going to dip the rim in the coastal blue. Just a quick little dip. This one I'm going to leave because black copper runs more and coastal blue runs when comboed. And I feel like if I were to put the extra glaze on this one, I know that the properties of those two glazes are going to make it run more than the ultraviolet. So this one we're going to leave. So those will be exciting to get out of the kiln, like Christmas morning. We don't know what they're going to look like, but I'm pretty sure they're going to look awesome. So yeah, what even time is it? What time?
We are at 10:44. You got about 10 more minutes. You got 10 more minutes.
Does anybody have any questions or?
Oh gosh, we got lots of questions. So let me just go get them all. Is coastal blue a runner?
Coastal blue by itself is not a runner. Even if you put 2 coats on, you know, if I were to take a pot and glaze it once, twice, all the way to the bottom with coastal blue, the second coat is immediate, right? So we're going to glaze Coastal Blue. I would pour it in, dump it out, dip it, spin it off upright. And then I'm going to watch it dry while I'm holding it, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Coastal Blue is going to wind up drying really quick. And I'm going to go right back in and do the same thing. Dip, pour, dunk, spin it off, all the drips. The drips I can wipe with my hand like this, wipe the drips off so that when I stand it up, they don't sheet down. 2 coats of Coastal Blue, just like that, should not run. If you bisque fire to 04, it will run, right? And so just that little change, right? Everything is exactly the same. The difference is between bisquing 04 and 06 will change whether or not something runs, right? And so that's the way it works in our studio because we bisque to 06. If you bisque to 04, you may not want to dip the second coat all the way down because it will start to move. Coastal Blue's a runner when it's comboed with other things. So by itself, it's pretty stable. Let's see, Dad's.
Have you done any tests with the ultraviolet and chun on top? Have you put any chun on top of ultraviolet? That would be amazing. That would be it would work and it would be gorgeous. I can tell you because I've done chun on my purple, which is it's not the same as your purple, but it's similar and it always looks amazing. So I'm pretty sure it would work fabulously.
So now I'm cleaning up. I got that nice straight edge. I can go right around my foot of my plate and clean that. Flip it over. So I'll get out of the way here. That's not real exciting to watch.
I don't want to clean anything, so I'm just going to dip it in here and shake it. Very nice. And then fill up to the bottom.
So now I have the bottom of my plate completely clean, ready to go in the kiln.
So we want to see chun on the top
chun,
of ultraviolet.
Chun on the ultraviolet, yeah. Because we've seen cream on the ultraviolet. Let's chun it up.
Some chun.
Just go dip it in chun.
Just go dip it in chun?
Yeah.
The top rim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at this point,
you just handed it off.
At this point, I mean, we can show you what it looks like, but it's not glazed, right? So we'll dip it in chun, and then it'll come out for our Sunday kind of. Yeah. I'll show everybody the results. But yeah, that's a good one.
One dunk.
One on the rim. Yep. Maybe a third of the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd go about a third of the way. Nice.
Right. Yeah.
So the question about your bisque schedule, what is it? You have it posted anyway.
So I have we fire a custom bisque program here at Clayscapes. All of your kilns come with the pre-programmed, slow bisque, fast bisque, slow glaze, fast glaze, or like a slow, medium, fast. We fire a custom slow bisque. And what we do is fire about an 18-hour bisque with a 3-hour preheat. So our bisques typically take in the area of like 21 to 22 hours to fire.
Because we have a lot of clays in the studio.
Yep, because we use a lot of different clay bodies. There are some clay bodies that need more attention in the bisque fire, where you want to make sure that you have outgassing completely taken care of in the bisque, so that when you go back into the glaze firing, you don't have any outgassing that's going to ruin your stuff.
I think we have that program online too, don't we? On our website?
I do, but I can also get it.
If you send it to me, we'll put it up on ClayShare Resources. We have our glaze. We have the glaze schedule. So
yep. Yeah, we can do that.
That way everybody can have that.
Oh, dirty.
Imagine
so
that.
We had a question. You can brush on a dippable glaze, right? So you can take a fan brush and brush a dippable glaze. I do it all the time and you guys do it. can you pour a brush on glaze? Like what happens if you take a jar of Amaco glaze and you start just pouring that on stuff?
I've done it, especially with like the low fire Amaco, the teacher's choice and teacher's palette stuff, where they're just like a very one tone color. They're similar to the Mako stroking coats. Wherever you put that glaze, it's that color and it's glossy. Typically, you're like 2 to 3 coats brushing for Amaco will wind up being like 1 coat pouring or dipping.
It can get really thick though.
Yeah, the issue you wind up running into is that the glaze in the jars is so thick that you would have to water it down to dip it or pour it. And then, you know, there's definitely some experimentation that you would need to do there. It's doable, but they're not designed for that.
So we have someone who's Chun Blue brush on hard pan. How can I fix it?
You can try and take some water out, pour some water off. You have to mix it back up, let it sit, and it will kind of reconstitute itself. Shoot me an email, and you know, if it's causing you too much grief, just shoot me an email, and I'll get another one out to you. Hard pan brushing glazes are different than hard panned dipping and pouring glazes. They're a lot harder to reconstitute. So
too much water.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're having those hard pan issues, we can do brushing glazes. Just give us a call or shoot one of us an email. We'll help you out.
Awesome. Fabulous. We got 3 more minutes. So
yeah,
folks really want a more explanation why the 04 versus the 06. I think they want to know about the absorption issue, maybe.
Sure. So we bisque the 06. It's just the way we do it because that's the way Dad did it back in the day. You know, back when kilns were like brand new technology. But bisquing to 04 is a hotter temperature. So when you bisque your work, as it's getting fired, the particles in your clay body are becoming tighter, more aligned, more vitrified. And if you glaze something that's been fired to a higher temperature, it's going to absorb less moisture, less water. Glaze is a lot water. I don't know. It's water, you know, it's water plus the ingredients. And so when we dip our pot in a bucket of glaze and pull it out and you watch it dry in front of your face, that it's drying because the clay body itself is absorbing the moisture and leaving all the chemical on top, right? So it's pulling the water into the clay body and leaving the glaze on the outside. And at a lower temperature, your bisqueware is able to absorb more moisture. And so that's why
it can absorb more, leave more glaze on the surface.
So what happens is if you can easily over apply to something that's been bisqued to a hotter temperature. But you can also, you know, it's just different, right? You can over apply either way. So, you know, realistically, you just need to find, you know, the method that works best for you consistently, right? I'm not saying that one is right and one is wrong. We're just saying that
they're different.
As you are working through your process, just be aware of, you know, the bisque temperature actually affects how glaze is applied to your pot. And so knowing, okay, well, I fire my bisque a little hotter, so it's not going to absorb as much moisture. So my coats are going to be a little thinner. You know, these are the things that you think about when we say like, oh man, my pot came out and it's bubbled or it's pinholed or something. And then we can go back and say, what temperature did you bisque fire to? Or, you know, what's the consistency of the glaze in the bucket? It's just one more variable that plays into the bigger picture.
And if you're having glaze issues, and you're new to, say, dipping, we want you to reach out and contact us, because with anything new, there's a learning curve. Mm-hmm. So don't be out there struggling, being frustrated. Call us, we can help you. We can shorten that learning curve and get over those hurdles so that you're successful much quicker. Awesome. All right. Sadly, we're out of time and we weren't able to get to everybody's questions, but
you can reach out to Don and Drew at Clayscapes, and they will gladly answer any questions you may have. Thanks, guys, for being here with us this morning. It was wonderful. We'll see you again a little later.
Yeah.
Love you, Clayshare.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right, so that was just a really great example of how to dip and pour glazes. Everybody who dips and pours glazes does it a little differently. I glaze a little differently than they glaze. There's really no right way or wrong way to do it. It's just what works for everyone, you know. And I saw there was a bunch of questions, and I tried to get as many that I could into the conversation. It's really hard. We only have a tiny bit of time with them, but as I mentioned already, just reach out to Don and Drew and they will happily get back to you and help you with any of your questions, even if it's not dipping and pouring questions, if it's about brushing on glaze or anything at all to do with glazes or kilns or pottery in general. All right, so we're going to take a little break. We're going to be back at 11, so in just about 15 minutes with Mako, and Carmen Allen is going to be doing a tutorial on how to use mud crack and magma glazes, and I think she's going to tint them, so it's going to be really fun. And I've only used these glazes a teeny bit, so I'm excited to see what she does with it. I'll catch you guys.